Hey, man, it's Dukes and Bell. Happy Thursday, everybody, as we get ready for Fern. All right, that's the official name of this storm that's blowing through.
Storm Fern?
But, look, I don't know what's going to happen, Mike. I don't know where we're going to get day as far as, how much ice and sleet and all this stuff. Just be prepared, all right, as we head towards the weekend. Tomorrow will be fine. I think this will be a Saturday night, Sunday kind of thing. But anyways, we've been talking about it all week. Look, we got a lot to get to today. First and foremost, how about the Hawks, man? They snapped this losing streak. What'd you think last night?
Hey, because Jalen Johnson could score again, right? A couple of games there, Day. It looked like the Monstars, from Space Jam took his skills away, but he was balling. Only a few times did they make a run last night, and you feel, okay, maybe Hawks are going to struggle, but they kept them at arm's distance. I thought, it was back to Jalen looking like he was I don't know what that was on the West Coast swing, Carl, but he's back to doing what he needs to do.
Yeah, and look, maybe he was being banged up, nicked up or something. Either way, they find a way to get a 2-point win against, Ja Morant and the Grizzlies. I don't think Ja's there for the long term, guys. I think he's going to get traded too. Just don't know where. I know we had talked about maybe, coming to Atlanta. I don't know if I'm high on that, man. I'm like, the more I watch Ja, he's like every star that wants to get traded. He's just out there. He's not playing with the passion that you want to see,
Right. Yeah. And then we said this, I know the joke was, I brought this up to you guys a few weeks ago, and everyone's like, guys on text line, like, Ja Morant on the streets of Atlanta? Forget about it. I'm like, all right. You have to get him set for a pair of Kevlar sweatpants. Okay, whatever. But I mean, it's a shame because he was such a meteoric rise, and now he's just kind of stagnating in Memphis.
Yeah, man. We'll see where, again, it's nice to snap a losing streak. What I'd like to see them do is go on a 5, 6, 7, 8 game win streak and maybe make a real move here. Even though they're, 10th spot, I think they're still in the 10th spot in the Eastern Conference. Technically, when you talk from 10 to 6 to 5, it's only about a 3.5, 4 game difference. But nevertheless, man, congrats to the Hawks and snapping the losing streak, and we'll see where it goes. Guys, we're all about football, as we have been. There are so many moves that are going on around the NFL. And before we address what happened yesterday on the show, which was Tommy Rees getting the OC job, Mike, today we find out that Zac Robinson is going to be the OC with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And here's the funny thing. For everybody, and we've been saying this, Falcon fans, everybody here who thought, or around the country that's a Falcon fan, who thought Zac Robinson sucked. It's going to be very interesting to see how productive this offense is with Tampa, if Baker regresses or he gets better, and how their play calling is. You can't tell me with the weapons he's got in Tampa and how they won this division offensively over the last few years that he's going to a lesser situation. So, Mike, we're about to find out if Zac either knows what he's doing or if it was either the quarterback here, because that's how I feel. It was either him or the quarterback that couldn't do the things he wanted to do.
Right. I was telling Carl before the pre-show, our buddy JP Peterson, who does the show down in Tampa, he called me up because, what do you know about Zac? And I said, well, I mean, two things can be true. He was great with Kirk and not great with Penix because, the all-time single-game passing record is 509 yards, week 5 last year, that overtime thriller at Mercedes-Benz over Tampa Bay. That's Kirk Cousins with Zac Robinson calling the plays. And I was telling Carl, I'm sitting behind the bench because I sit up high at Mercedes-Benz. I'm behind the bench in Germany, and Penix Jr. is like, get the effing play in. We had a lot of delay of games, extra timeouts, never meshed. The play action we talked about that didn't work. How much is on Penix? How much is on Zac? Look, it would not surprise me if Zac has success with a veteran like Baker Mayfield, if I'm honest.
Yeah, me neither. Day, what do you think about that, by the way? Because, look, as much as we're like, yeah, these guys are gone, we told you, they're all going to get shots to coach somewhere else. If Jeff Ulbrich was let go, he was going to get hired somewhere else, okay? So it's even when it sucks and it's bad and we're killing these guys, and it doesn't mean they suck. And I only say that to translate that to Kevin Stefanski, because I think that's how we have to look at this situation with Stefanski. Yeah, it wasn't great in Cleveland, but it doesn't mean that he's a bad coach or that he doesn't know what he's doing. Dede, what do you think, man?
I mean, I thought instantly about the fact that I wondered how much Baker Mayfield had a say in this, because the two did, work together when they were both in LA, and Baker was there for that short stint. And to your point, guys, maybe Zac has just a good comfortability with veteran-style quarterbacks, and maybe that was the issue with him and Michael Penix. Maybe some of those delay of games was the fact that I got to figure out what I can call for Michael Penix because I don't feel comfortable that he can execute everything that we need him to execute. Whereas with Kirk Cousins, there really wasn't any question as to whether or not he can be under center, in pistol, in shotgun. Like, look, I know Kirk can go wherever I need him to go. And maybe that was part of the issue between him and Michael Penix, if there was really indeed an issue. So, like you said, Carl, we'll get to he's going to be in Tampa now. We'll see how this offense flows with him. And if that's the case, again, maybe it had something more so to do with Michael Penix and what he may have been somewhat limited in being able to do under Zac Robinson.
You know what? I'm also a little surprised. Maybe not. Maybe it just hasn't happened yet. I'm a little surprised Ra hasn't taken one of these defensive coordinator jobs, Mike. He's been linked with a few jobs, and I'm starting to wonder, like, is he in the mix for some of these other head coaching jobs? Because, you know, like Mike McDaniel, he takes his name out of the Browns situation and immediately goes and takes the OC job with the Chargers because he feels like that's the best situation for him right now. I don't know where Ra's going to land. I'm just saying that because Zac Robinson lands somewhere. You got to believe that Raheem Morris is probably going to as well. Hey, man, it's Dukes and Bells Behind the Curtain. We do this each and every day. Twitch, YouTube, X, all the places where you can access our social media. And, of course, 92.9 The Game will be there live today starting at 2 o'clock. All right, fellas, let's discuss our OC situation. We got into it late in the show yesterday, Mike. Mixed emotions, I think, from most of our listeners who were calling in about Tommy Rees.
Yeah, I mean, again, what do I know about Tommy Rees? You know, I mean, I know he was mediocre at Alabama. Nick Saban had to defend him. There was Alabama fans questioning the logic of Nick Saban to bring him down from Notre Dame a couple of years ago. So, look, I said to Carl yesterday, if I's change, you's change, we could all change. So maybe a better situation. But, you know, this situation is in flux. We just talked about Penix Jr. and trying to figure out and diagnose what was keeping him from being better last year. So they go into another situation where the quarterback may or may not start the season. I mean, you may have 2 quarterbacks or 3 playing next season for the Falcons, which is just what happened in Cleveland. So I don't know. Stefanski and Rees, I saw the media, our friends up at our sister station in Cleveland, basically saying they're running it back in Atlanta because they just said our stuff sucked in Cleveland. We didn't have the troops. It will work in Atlanta. So I got to put my trust in Matt Ryan. But as I said to you yesterday and Day-Day, it's a hard sell. This is not easy to sell. I'm not trying to sell it because I don't really believe in it myself.
Yeah, and right. I think they're trying to. Well, they will make it easier with this presser next week as they introduce Stefanski officially, and have him come out and say, "Look, I'm running this offense." Now that's what I want to hear. But Mike, you know, what we're probably going to hear. It'll be a collaboration. It's probably what we'll hear. I want to hear Stefanski say, "I'm calling the plays. I'm working with Penix,
right?
And this is my thing. And yes, Tommy's here to assist me." But I don't want to hear it's collaborative because it makes it seem as though he's taking some of that responsibility away from him. Everybody I've talked to around the league now, a couple of days, some phone calls, and people hit me back, man, telling me trust his offensive prowess. This dude knows what he's doing offensively, even if you didn't watch all the Cleveland games. So I'm like, damn, if it was that bad with the players, then why does Andrew Berry still have a job there? Because that's the thing. It's like Kevin knows what he's doing, but it was still they didn't win games, and the offense was mediocre or mid, and yet the general manager retained his job, and they're looking for a new coach. If it was that bad, you would think the general manager would have been fired too. Dede, what's your take on Tommy Rees, man?
I'm going to say comfortability. Familiarity as well. I think this is a situation where for Stefanski, say he is going to be the one maybe calling the plays, and we heard Josh Kendall kind of mention that he thinks Rees will be more so just there to run the offense for Stefanski. Coming into a new situation with the uncertainty about what, not knowing exactly what you're going to do yet at quarterback, maybe this was more so a case of, I would prefer him bring someone in that he already has a working relationship with versus him bringing in someone he doesn't have a relationship with working wise. They don't really know exactly how they're attacking the quarterback situation. At least he's got someone that he can already, already be on the same page with, understands how he thinks about things and how he approaches running offenses. So I would say, comfortability and familiarity are probably played a major role, obviously, in him wanting to bring Tommy Rees. So it's one of those things where I'm just going to say, let's sit back and see what they do. Because, again, I would prefer him bring someone he knows versus us having another situation. Because if you go back to Ra, All right. The problem with, Ra may have known Zac Robinson, but Ra didn't work with Zac Robinson in LA. So, you know what I mean? Ra's on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah, I see that kid, and he seems like he knows what he's doing, and everybody tells me he knows what he's doing, but they didn't have a collaboration together for them to really understand what it was going to take to run the Falcons offense. Totally different situation with Stefanski bringing Rees.
Yeah. Look, we just want to get results. But like I said, Carl, we can't tell the listeners because we don't know when Penix is going to start because of the injury. We hope he's on track. But Matt Ryan has said, he's on record as saying he's got to make layups. In other words, make those high percentage throws. Don't make yourself harder to be third and long every damn series. Because one thing I looked at, just real quick to double back on Zac Robinson going to Tampa, we were at 39% third down conversion rate with Zach and Cousins. Of course, then Penix finished the season. We dropped down to 31.5% last year on third down. One of the worst in the league. So that's why when I talk about Penix, I'm not saying he can't make it work, but it's got to be better. And I don't think anybody who disagrees with that was watching the same football you and I were watching.
Yeah. Look, and to your point about Ra and Zac Robinson, I think Raheem really trusted the thought process of Sean McVay. Do not discount how much weight Sean had in that decision where you go, all right, tell me about him, trust him. Yeah, he can do the job. And you hire him, right? Seriously.
Well, he was good with a veteran, just not good breaking in a rookie.
So that part of it, a lot of times these guys go with their boys that they know and they trust, and they say, that's the guy you need to go with. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Familiarity is very key, man. Look, John Sullivan is now the general manager down in Miami. Nobody knows who the hell he is. He was in Green Bay for like 2 decades. That's how Jeff Hatley got this job. Jeff Hatley's never been a head coach in the NFL. But he was in Green Bay. He's never had head coaching experience in the NFL. Sullivan and him are cool. Dolphins may not be as an attractive job. I'm just laying these ideas of, man, why would he hire his boy? It happens. So, you're seeing it all around the league. And by the way, both of those guys may be looking for a job in 3 years in with the Dolphins because I don't know what their quarterback situation is going to be. But it's an example of what we're getting here in Atlanta where, yes, he's familiar with Tommy Rees. Maybe Tommy can be better than what we give him credit for. Hey, we got to give some love to our guys, man. James Pierce Jr., Xavier Watts, Mike, up for rookie of the defensive rookie of the year. 2 Falcons from the same draft class up for rookie defensive rookie of the year. How incredible is that?
Right. Well, and, we had a lot of conversations about Fontenot. He got some things right. He got some things wrong. I think most GMs hit about 50%. If you get to 51%, you keep your job. He got the defense right. I mean, it took a minute to get to the defense, but the 2 classes between Dorless and certainly, this year and the trade, we always forget when you go get Pierce, Xavier Watts was part of that because we got a 3rd rounder from the Rams. We then moved up to get these 2 guys that are absolutely rock stars. And Jalen Walker, if not for some of the was it groin injury, soft tissue issues, he might have had even 8 or 9, 10 sacks himself. Future is bright, but Pierce Jr., we were a little sketchy about it. They were probably going to take him if Walker doesn't fall to them at 15, and they were right on that, man. This guy's a rock star.
Yeah, I just I think for Falcon fans, that's what we need to be. One of the things we need to be excited about is the promise of what these guys could bring over the next 4 to 5 years. And again, on rookie deals, look, everybody, and I don't want to hear this crap either. Like, oh man, how are we gonna keep all these guys? We'll worry about it when we get there. Okay,
right.
Let's just try to win some games, win a division, get into the playoffs, get a home playoff game. Like, can we take baby steps before we start worrying about who the hell we're gonna pay?
Right.
I mean, like we haven't even had any of these kind of guys, any of these kinds of players on the map day on the defensive side of football in Atlanta in a very long time. And as I said, to a guy today, name the last time you had 2 rookies from the Falcons up for this award. You haven't. In the same time period, right? The same year. So it's really cool, man. We got a lot to chop up today, guys. We're live at 2. Did we get Aditi on, by the way? Were you able to?
Yeah, she'll join us tomorrow. And then, guys, forgive me. I was off because we were off Monday. I forgot today is Thursday. So we do have Mike Griffith joining us today. Kind of put a bow on college football.
Right on.
So we're going to head back to Cleveland tomorrow. We're just trying to get more perspective. People that have been around the organization who may know a little bit more to add to what we're trying to understand about this coaching staff.
To talk us off the ledge.
So we'll do more of that. Today, though, lots of football talk, guys, as we continue with all this news. And by the way, every day there's been a breaking story, whether it's been OCs, head coaches. We think there'll probably be more of that today. So make sure you tune in. Hey, we'll talk to you at 2:00 today on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game.